Hello, my lovers. Welcome to Future Husband Diaries. My name is Maya Spana, and welcome. Hello, my lovers. Welcome to Future Husband Diaries. My name is Maya Spana, and welcome. If you're new, like, subscribe, and share it with other people that you think will benefit. This is a sisterhood, a womanhood, a community for us Christian single women out there, for us to grow together, learn from our mistakes, not repeat the mistakes that we have made, learn from other people's mistakes so that we do not repeat the mistakes that they did. And we can grow spiritually, we can grow physically, we can grow in our own spaces, in our own time, in our own uniqueness. So hello and welcome again. So I hope that you've been enjoying the other episodes that you've been having so far. There are other episodes that we had before, and I really like those episodes. I have been getting questions from people like, these are not the questions that you should be asking. Why are we even talking about this? And then at the same time, I also get people, who be like, these are conversations that we really should be having. These are conversations that you think, you should really be talking about those things because these things are affecting you. So if I encounter these things in my sphere, and because you watched that episode or you were drawn by the title, it just means that at some point in your life, you have been affected by the same thing. So let's answer those questions. I'm not saying I'm here to give you answers. No, we're here to have a conversation about it, open up the whole space so that we can have conversations that will build us up, conversations that will help us to make the right and informed decisions, because this kind of questions, these are things that are not really there in the Bible, but it's all about Christian behavior, right? So if it's about Christian behavior, there are some things that are not really spelled out in the Bible, because at that point, maybe things were not there when they were writing it, and it wasn't a norm. And now we are living in another century. We are now living in the 21st century, and things are now different. We're now living in a time where there's technology. We're now living in a time where there's AI. Living in a time where the space is now different. There are some things, they might not be seen. They might be seen, so we need to talk about this so that we make an informed decision. So that's all that I'm here for. So I hope that you will like, subscribe, and enjoy it wherever you are, and that you have a great day wherever you are. That's all. I come to you in another way today. I come to you with a question that someone posted. They didn't post on my socials and but someone asked me a question. This question really it opened my eyes to some other things. So I was like, let me make a topic out of it. Let me give my own 2 cents about it, and maybe you can all pitch in and help her out so that she can grow in her space, because this is a question that she had. So before I go into her topic, there is this trend that is now rising. Where people are always saying, TRAD wives, and the whole aesthetics of being TRAD wives. I was really enjoying their content. I am one of those people. I watch their content. Okay. I was just looking at it and it's just fascinating and me and all. And then the way that this person asked me in a way that was a little bit different, because they were asking me about TRAD girlfriends. When I was asking people around me, like, no, we do not have TRAD girlfriends. We do not have TRAD girlfriends. And then I was like, no, think about this, especially in the Christian setup, especially in the Christian Black people setup in Africa, where I am from, where I am living now. And let's just take the whole internet out of it all. Let's just take the whole trend out of it all, but just look at how relationships go. You know, I had a friend of mine who was like, I'm looking for a woman in church, but in order for me to know whether she is marriage material, she needs to be able to cook for me. She needs to be able to do this for me. She needs to be able to do this. Now I was asking around, and people are like, those are the things that they've been doing so far. So this question stemmed from all of that and all that research that I was doing. So let's get to the question. Question says, "Hi Maya, I don't know if I'm crazy or just trying to be a good Christian woman, but I've been dating this guy for almost a year now. I cook for him, pray for him, help him with his goals. I even started adjusting my personality to be more submissive and peaceful like I see online. He says he loves me, but he's not ready for marriage. Meanwhile, I'm doing all the wife duties without a ring. I'm scared that if I stop, he'll leave me. But lately I've been asking myself, am I being a good Christian woman or just a TRAD girlfriend trying to end a proposal? I feel convicted. Is this biblical, or am I giving too much too soon before the covenant, before the ring? I don't know how to go back without feeling like I'm failing as a Christian woman. What would you do?" So this is the question that I got. So she's saying she's worried. She's been dating this guy for a year and no commitment talks have been done yet. But he says he loves them and he's not ready for marriage yet. But there's a part where she didn't specify it in the question, but she told me that he says in order for him to know he's not ready to commit yet, but when he's ready to commit, the things that he will use to show that she really will be wife material is if she can handle all of those things is for her to do the wifely duties. So that's why she started to do all those wifely duties. So this is a common norm, especially in a Christendom. A lot of people have been going through this way. You find yourself in a relationship without a commitment, without a ring, but you find yourself being submissive to someone. You find yourself cooking for that person. You can find yourself cleaning his house, changing his curtains, buying things for him, making the house warmly, making, just adding that woman touch. That's what we find ourselves doing most of the times in a relationship. So, and then after like a year or after some time, she's asking herself, is she really doing this because she's just a good Christian woman, or is she a good Christian girlfriend, or she's just turning out to be another TRAD girlfriend, doing all of this just to secure the ring? Answer her. I'm going to answer her in a very long answer. I'm not just going to tell her yes, no, what. I want her to make an informed decision on her own. I want her to make a decision that she'll be comfortable with at the end of the day. So one thing that I'm just going to ask myself is, what is a TRAD girlfriend? Someone might be saying, it's a person who acts like a wife, who does the cooking, who does the submitting, does the emotional supporting without the ring or the covenant. You are a girlfriend and you're doing all the traditional things for a man to make him feel better. He comes back from work, you do a massage, you cook for him, you do everything to make it his life good. But then at the same time, I am not going to go into the whole TRAD wife or TRAD wife trend, right? I'm just going to talk about the part about the TRAD girlfriend, because the reason why I'm talking about the TRAD girlfriend is because, number one, this person doesn't have the commitment, doesn't have the ring. If this person decide at some point that he's leaving her, she really has no choice. She's just going to break up and she has to move on from it. Oh, so now what is the problem that I see with this? As she's doing wife duties instead of girlfriend duties. Okay, not duties as such. She is doing all the things that a wife is supposed to be doing. He is enjoying wife privileges, but he doesn't have a wife. is enjoying all of what it feels like to have a wife, but without having a wife. Most of the times, if you encounter someone like that, at some point they can make a decision to say, if I have all of this, what is it that a wife will bring that this girlfriend is not bringing? Because I am getting all of those things. Therefore, just having a wife will somehow complicate my life. And they feel like they are comfortable at that space. They are comfortable in that one. So that's the problem that you might encounter, number one, with someone saying they do not feel responsible, like they do not feel the need to go about and put a ring on you, because everything that they are getting, they are now getting it for free without having the commitment of being in a long-term relationship with you. So usually people who feel like that, number one, are people who most of the times they are not really ready to be committed to you. A person might not be talking about, they might not be saying commitment to you, but that does not really mean that the person is not really committed. They want to be committed, but maybe at that point they don't want to be committed to you. Because I've been in relationships with people, especially with men. If he really wants to be committed to you, maybe right now is not the time. They are commitment talks. It tells you, I want to marry you at some point. It tells you, you make plans to have that commitment in the future. You put all of these things, but for a year and this person has never said anything about commitment. That is a red flag. Because most of the time, with men, you can get, especially if it's a good Christian relationship, it does not get to a year when that person still says, I am not going to talk. I'm not saying that person is going to commit to you at the end of a year. No, I'm just saying that person might not commit to you right now. That person might not marry you right now. They might not engage you right now. But there are talks of being in a committed relationship. There are talks of future plans. There are talks of this. If the person doesn't have that, usually that is something where then you might not be the person that they're looking for. Maybe at that point, you are a convenient girlfriend at that point, but maybe you are not that kind of girlfriend that will continue to be in the long run. These are questions that, you really should ask him. Like, we have never talked about commitment. I've never really heard you talk about commitment. You're always saying you're not ready. I understand you're not ready. Maybe I'm also not ready, but let's open up the dialogue. Let's talk about whether this is a future that we should really be looking into, or it's not a future that we should be looking into. These are topics that you should be having, and talk about whether at some point you're going to be engaged. Does he see you as someone that he feels might be engaged in or not? Because you might find that someone is looking for a long-term relationship and the other person is not looking for a long-term relationship in the space that you're in. And therefore, it's usually easier to break it off before anyone else gets hurt. But then that is not all of the people that are like that. That is just one way of looking at it. So, it might not really be exactly what everyone else is thinking, but that is just one way. Another way is you need to ask yourself, are you doing this out of love or out of fear? Like, this is a question really you should be asking yourself. Are you doing this out of love for this person? Or are you doing it out of fear? If you're really doing it out of fear, then it's not a right place to be, because a lot of us, we're just afraid he's going to leave me because I'm not a good Christian woman. I'm not showing the qualities of a good mother. I'm not all of those things. So we try and act out to be something that we are not. We try to do things out of fear so that he doesn't leave me. I'm going to do this. I'm going to cook for him. I'm going to clean for him. I'm going to do all of this so that he knows that I am wife material. He knows that. So at some point when he thinks about putting a ring on it, you'll be like, this is the right kind of girl. This is the right kind of wife because she does all of this, and that. And at the end of the day, we find ourselves doing all of these things out of fear and not out of love. And with that, we tend to be disappointed at some point when that person decides to leave us. Be like, but I did all the right things in this relationship. I became the kind of wife that you were looking for. And I molded myself into the right kind of version that I thought you deserve as a wife. And therefore, that is not good for you mentally, because at some point, what if he decides, yes, you are right, and he decides to marry you? Are you going to continue that whole facade that you've been putting up all this time, or are you just going to be overwhelmed? So there are things. I'm not saying you should do this. I'm not saying you should not do this, but the only way or the only reason why you should be doing all of these duties or you should be getting all of these privileges is if you are doing all of this out of love, not out of fear. If you are doing this as a way to say, I am doing this out of the bottom of my heart, this is just coming to me naturally, this is just my way of showing you that I love you, not expecting anything in return. If you do decide to marry me or you decide not to marry me, at the end of the day, when I get out of this relationship, I'll know that I did the best that I could and I showed you the kind of love that I thought you deserved at that time. If it so happens that we break up, I will not feel bad and be spiteful against you because I feel that you were using me. No, because I feel like, I did all of this so that you were not going to leave me. But then at the end of the day, you left me. So therefore, I become spiteful to you. So I'm not going to do all of this. I'm just going to do this. If I'm doing this, I'm going to do it out of love and out of everything in such a way that at the end of the relationship, I am so sure that I did everything that I could out of love, and I showed you all the love that I can. And you, I'm sure you were happy at some point. If it so happens that we're not happy and we break up, at the end of the day, I am okay with all of that. Most of us tend to do this out of fear, and fear is not a driving force. It's not the right kind of driving force that you should be having, because at the end of the day, that's when you find people, spiteful against their exes and what feel like they've been used. They try, to harm the next relationship. Why? Because I feel like I've been used. But all of that, what is it that I really need to look into in my life is, did I do this out of love, or I was just doing this out of fear? You really need to look into this. Most of the times, this gives men a leeway and enables them to take a step back and delay commitment, because they'll be like, why am I even rushing? Because we are good. And he will tell you, you're good, I'm good, everything is good. So why would I need to commit? And you find yourself in a 10-year relationship, you find yourself in a 15-year relationship with someone, and they're very comfortable with it. And even though you are not comfortable with it, you go along with it because you just want to make that person happy. So what is it that I feel you should be doing in order for you to avoid that kind of situation where maybe you feel used in a relationship and he feels like he's gaining and he becomes comfortable in that relationship? He doesn't need to put commitment into it, because at the end of the day, everything is good at this point. The thing that I think you need to do is to put up the boundaries. You need to put up boundaries for yourself and tell him the kind of boundaries that you're going to have. Tell him, I'm okay with this. We're in a relationship and everything is good with this. And I'm very, very happy. But there are boundaries that I will not cross. I'm not saying I'm not going to do this, but I'm just saying as a boundary for me. And then you put up boundaries that you are comfortable with. If you're comfortable with cooking for him, then that's fine. You'll be like, I'll be able to cook for you, but then I will not come to your house and clean your house. I will not come to your house and wash your things, iron your things, come to your house and make meals for you. I'll not do that. I'll only cook for you when I feel like I want to cook for you and I want to show you something, I want to, make you feel special for that day, but I'll not make it a habit of me doing it every single day if you're comfortable with that. But you need to put up boundaries, set up boundaries for things that you're comfortable with so that you do not feel used at the end of the day. But put up boundaries as a way to show that this is what I'm comfortable doing. This is how I am going to show my love to you. But then at the end of the day, I will not cross this boundary because this makes me feel like this, because this doing this for you might look okay on this side, but it makes me feel like this. Therefore, put up boundaries. Boundaries will help both of you in that relationship. And you tell him your boundaries, he tells you his boundaries. At the end of the day, you come to a compromise and therefore have the kind of relationship that you're both comfortable with at the end of the day. And you're doing all of these things out of love and not out of fear. And you're not doing this as a way as to show him that you are the top contender. You're the one who deserves the ring, but you will not be able to do that. And therefore, that is a healthy relationship. That is a relationship that will be putting up boundaries. That is a relationship that is making sure that everyone in that relationship is feeling like they're being catered for and their feelings are heard and everything is going to move smoothly at that point. Because you cannot be like, okay, this friend of mine in a relationship, she cooks for him, she cleans for him, and I'm going to do that for him. If you are not comfortable doing that, do not do those things for him, but talk to him about it, because to him, he might be having some kind of misconception, right? And thinking because you're not doing this, therefore you do not love me. So you need to have an open discussion and open talk together so that you put up boundaries for things that you feel this is comfortable for me, this is not comfortable for me. He says what is comfortable with, he says what you're comfortable with, so that at the end of the day, you are all in a relationship and you feel safe in that relationship. And you even talk about commitment issues. If you have been in a relationship with someone for a year and you tell them, according to my boundaries, I know I've been I really love you, you love me and all. But because we have never had talks about commitment in the future, I feel like you're not really serious about me. If you are not, and I think it's best that you tell me so that I do not invest more of my time, I do not invest more of whatever it is that I've been investing at the end of the day, because I'll end up resenting you. Those are boundaries and communications that you can put up, and you can talk about those things so as to make sure that your relationship feels better. The reason is, when I was looking into biblical examples of courtship, I couldn't find most of them, and I've never heard of a person in the Bible who had to really prove themselves, because the only closest person that I could come up with who proved herself before the wedding was Rebecca, right? Where she took the water and she put it there. But notice this about Rebecca. She did not do that as a way to prove that she was going to be a good wife for Isaac. No, she did this out of the goodness of her heart. So that is what the Bible is saying. You should make sure that you do all of these things. If you do this and you go on an extra mile and to do all these other things, you should not be doing it out of spite or as a way as to show off, but you should be doing it out of the goodness of your heart and helping out someone else who is in need. Maybe he needs a meal at that time, you cook for him. Maybe he's not able to do this, you do it for him. But all of those things should be coming out of the goodness of your heart, not as a way as to prove yourself and make yourself better. And he feels like she is the one, she deserves a ring. And then the other thing that I was asking is, what she was asking was, when it comes to submitting in a relationship, she felt like she was submitting to someone. If you are asking such a question and you feel like you have been submitting to someone and you're not really comfortable doing that, therefore it's just your subconscious telling you that there's something wrong in that relationship. The Bible is really clear when it comes to submission. It says, submit to your husband. And you do not have to submit to your boyfriend. I'm not saying be unruly, be what? No. Because when it comes to this, a lot of people do confuse what submission is all about. Because what I really understand is I was reading the Bible. I've been reading a lot when it comes to relationships and in the beginning. Because it says, when it was talking about Eve and her being a helper, it had nothing to do with her not having those or her not being what, but it's not, being a helper is all about bringing a certain strength to the other person that the other person will not be able to have. And the strength that the person brings, it is also in the Bible, it's also being related to God also bringing that kind of strength. So in a relationship, when you are with someone, when you are a helper to that person, when you are the other person, the other half of that person, what you need to look at is you are the strength that he needs, that he cannot find in himself, someone that he can lean on and give him the strength that he's looking for. So there are things that you are supposed to do as a way as to strengthen him and give him the strength to keep on going, to keep on what, but then at the same time, you do not look down on yourself and think you are just a helper in that relationship. Anything else about you is not important. You are the strength that you're giving to him. At the same time, he's also the strength that he's supposed to give you the kind of love that you deserve. When it comes to being a helper and being a leader, the person should also bring the kind of leadership that is Christ-centered. Let's look at how leadership goes. If you're coming into a person and you're telling them, I am your leader, you should obey me, you have already lost that authority that you had before. If you are imposing your will on someone, you have already lost that. Being a leader is all about servitude. That's what I've learned. Being a leader is about bringing, helping the other person become the better version of themselves, helping them, giving them the strength that they also need, and which also applies to the woman being the strength. So at the end of the day, when you are leading as a man, you should give the woman the strength to be the best version of yourself. And as a woman, if you are a helper to the person, you give them the strength to be the better version of yourself. So if you find yourself that when you are alone, you are thriving more than when you are in a relationship, then that relationship is not for you. A relationship, the reason why you two are coming together is so that you become even better versions of yourself. You have to ask yourself, am I a better version when I am single, or am I a better version when I am in a relationship with this person? If I am in a relationship with this person, I become a better version. I become even stronger. I've heard of people where they say, if it hadn't been for my wife, if it hadn't been for my husband, I wouldn't be where I am today. I'll still be meandering the streets. Why? Because he gave me the strength that I did not have in the beginning. I think it was episode number 2 that we did when I was interviewing Utembi Ndlovu, where she was saying her husband gave her the strength to keep on going, to be where she is now. When she's looking back at her life, she will never have achieved the kind of achievements that she has achieved in her life if she had been alone. Because if she was single, yes, she had the strength. But with this person right beside her, they gave her the strength that she needed. She gave him the strength that they need, and they began to grow and become better versions of themselves. So that is how we should be viewing a relationship. A relationship is not about giving, the one person giving and the other person receiving. No, it's all about being the strength when you need it. When I need to hold on to you, you are the one who's pulling me up. When you need to hold on to me, I'm the one who's also pulling you up. And we become better versions of ourselves. We give each other the strength that we need. If you find that you are in a relationship with someone and that person keeps on taking the strength away from you and you become dehydrated, you become sort of like that person is taking the water out of you and taking everything out. Therefore, that is not the right relationship. That relationship might not be toxic, but that relationship is not for you. The right kind of relationship is a relationship that gives you the strength to keep on going. The right kind of relationship that you should be in is the one that lets you bloom and be the greatest flower that you have ever been. Because you are in a healthy space. You are in the right kind of space. There are some relationships that are not toxic, but you have to leave because you are not growing in any way. Because you feel even crappier when you are in this relationship than when you are not in this relationship. So those are the things that you should be asking yourself, so as to make sure that you are being led correctly, you are submitting very well, you are you're getting that strength that you need, because what you need is not from a lack of a better word, helper. When they were translated, they couldn't even find it to really explain what kind of helper is, because the helper is about strength giving. Leadership is about servitude. That person should be your servitude. That person is not really like a servant, but someone helping you out in that relationship. So in order for you to be one day the Proverbs 31 woman that you are looking, one day you'll be, or you're growing yourself to be that Proverbs 31 woman. So if you're looking at that, because, she rises up, the husband calls her blessed, all of these things are happening in order for her. She buys plots, she does all of this. All of those things she's able to do because she has the family that gives her the strength to keep on going. So if you find that this person is sucking the life out of you, therefore that person is not the right kind of person. That person will not make you to be the greatest Proverbs 31 woman that you have ever been. So if you find that this person is with me in this relationship because of what I can give, and this person is not providing me what I need, at the end of the day, it's not a healthy relationship. It's not, relationships are symbiotic, Everything has to somehow, from one place to another and all. But if it so happens that one is sort of like a lice, which is just a parasite and sucking from the host, therefore that is not a healthy relationship. When you're looking at the Bible, there is no verse that says, she acted like a wife when she wasn't a wife. There is nothing like that. So what you think you need to do is you need to be able to heal from this. You get out of this relationship and you heal. You learn how to show care to other people without expecting a ring in the end. So you do all of those things out of the goodness of your heart. You do all of these things out of love, and not as a way as to make sure that this person, I'm forcing you so that at some point you think I'm a good girlfriend, and then you will marry me someday. So these are the things that I should be telling your younger self. I'm like, no, this is not the right space for me to be in. And you can even talk out to the other person. You might find that the way that you're feeling maybe is also the same way that he is feeling, because he's feeling trapped by all of those things that you've been doing for him. And having an open discussion and open communication with him will heal up and talk about those things. And at the end of the day, you might find yourself being in a better space and being in a better relationship with him. Or you might find that it will be a time for you guys to break it off. But either way, this is a decision that you have to make. This is a decision that both of you have to talk about, and not just ghost each other and just run away from a relationship, but something that you both talk about and have a conversation and open communication about the kind of space and all of those things, so that at the end of the day, all of you are helped and everything will be good. So I hope that if you are a TRAD girlfriend, wherever you are, I'm sure you have all your thoughts that you have, and the things that you think, you advise that you have that you can tell her, on maybe how you got out of it, or maybe how you were able to fix that relationship. All of this, give her the advice that she needs, so that at the end of the day, she doesn't make up a mistake where she becomes resentful towards the person, but gets to a point where she's really happy about the relationship and space that she's in. Because we're all here to help each other build healthy relationships, the kind of relationships that we're comfortable with, the kind of relationships all of us are happy with, so that at the end of the day we can all be greater versions of ourselves. So that's all I had for you today. Bye. See you next time.